It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of October 30th, 1998. Four movies to look at, so let's see what Halloween weekend of 98 gave us. And we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is John Carpenter's Vampires.
A showdown is about to begin between the soldiers of the day and the army of the night. You can't kill me. James Woods. Oh my baby. John Carpenter's Vampires. Rated R.
So based off of a novel of the same name, this is basically James Woods starring as a leader of a team of vampire hunters. After his parents were murdered by vampires, he was raised by the Catholic Church to become their master slayer, and the plot is centered around his efforts to prevent a centuries-old cross from falling into the hands of Jan Valik, a reference to Valak, played by Thomas Ian Griffith, who's the first and most powerful of all vampires, and also stars Daniel Baldwin and Cheryl Lee as a prostitute, Tim Guinea and Maximilian Schell. You know what? Why not? For John Carpenter, he's pretty much tackled every other form of monster out there. Why not give him a vampire movie? And he made a surprisingly good one. This was one where really a lot of people were pleasantly surprised by how it turned out. That trailer made it look like a generic, pretty typical type of vampire hunter movie. But honestly, when you really look at it, it's actually a lot better than I think a lot of people give it credit for. And I think it's mostly because of what James Woods brings to the table to this. He actually brings in an element to this that actually makes it worth the watch. I mean, it's a really enjoyable film. It gets intense when it needs to. It shows a lot of good action, a lot of good visuals overall, a great cast overall. But really, the one thing you really take away from it is that James Woods really is giving it his all in this movie, and it definitely shows on screen. It's a really solid film. It's a film that is probably the last great film John Carpenter ever made. I mean, this was his last most successful film that he made as a director. Following this, he did Ghost of Mars, which is basically just yet another Aliens retread. But this was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it a lot. I was actually more than surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie. I was not going into it with a lot of high expectations because this has a polarizing reception on critics. Some people like it, some people really don't like it. But I found myself really enjoying it. I thought it was actually a really solid movie. And you know what? 25 years later, it's coming up on Halloween. If you're looking for something that's kind of an underrated gem, definitely check this movie out. I was actually really surprised at how much I enjoyed it. So, that's Vampires. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. Holly Hunter, Queen Latifah, and Danny DeVito in Living Out Loud.
Well, sad tonight. My husband left me. What is she, 30? Some 30-year-old?
She's 34. When things can't get worse,
I want to stop agreeing to things I don't really want. Then stop.
they can only get better. This is all about pleasure. It's about bodies touching.
Well, this girlfriend of mine gave me these. What do they do? Makes you want to just touch everybody.
Holly Hunter, Danny DeVito, Queen Latifah, Living Out Loud. Rated R. Directed by Richard LaGravenese.
So you've got Holly Hunter playing this woman who thought she had a perfect marriage with both of her husbands studying to be doctors, but after she puts her studies on hold to find a job and support them, many years pass until suddenly he leaves Judith with another doctor, and depressed she holds up in her apartment where the middle-aged Pat Francano, played by Danny DeVito, serves as a building superintendent, and he is as lonely as she is, beset with gambling problems, and they make a connection. Yet when he wishes to pursue a romantic relationship, she only sees a friendship, and her friend, played by Queen Latifah, sings in a nightclub and makes attempts to improve Judith's love life as well as her own. And not really a lot there in terms of the story. It's kind of stuff we've seen done over and over again, but what I think kind of elevates it is that cast. I mean, Holly Hunter, Danny DeVito, Queen Latifah, they don't usually pick bad movies, and even when they do, they're usually giving it their all, and they really do give their all in this. They are very good performances in this movie. They work off each other very well here. You also have Martin Donovan, Elias Codius, Eddie Cibrian. Just some really good cast overall in this movie. Richard Schiff, this director, Richard LaGravenese. This is actually the first film he directed after he's written several movies, including The Fisher King, The Ref, Little Princess, Bridges of Madison County, Mirror's Two Faces, Horse Whisperer, Beloved. I mean, he's a really solid filmmaker, and I think he does a very good job in his directorial debut here. Right? It's a really solid film. Not the best movie overall, but it's definitely a lot better than I think a lot of people give him credit for. Definitely check it out. It's a very underrated film. This one's certainly not an underrated film. The next one that we have here, and that is also from New Line Cinema, American History X.
history. X. Rated R. Starts flight everywhere.
Kind of like with that Pupil that we talked about last time. Definitely a film that's pretty much ahead of its time, honestly. This is a film where you have Edward Norton and Eddie Furlong. They play two brothers from Los Angeles who are involved in the white power, skinhead, and neo-Nazi movements. The older brother serves 3 years in prison for voluntary manslaughter, is rehabilitated during that time, and then tries to prevent his brother from becoming indoctrinated further. You also have Bruce Bach, Stacy Keach, Elliot Gould, Avery Brooks, Ethan Suplee, Beverly D'Angelo. This is a really good cast overall here. This is the feature directorial debut for Tony Kaye, and it's written by David McKenna. And it's a film, like I said before, really is ahead of its time. It's tackling a lot of issues that we have nowadays, but doing it in a way that's just, it's really well done. It's uncomfortable to watch, but you get so invested in what goes on in this movie. It's mostly because of the performances by Edward Norton and Eddie Furlong that really elevates this to a whole nother level. The movie overall does a very good job of just hitting you with the hard stuff right off the bat, and it does a very good job of handling everything that needs to get its point across. And I think it really does serve a lot of purpose now, where it can be very timeless for something that sadly is something that has to be continued to be a factor in life even to this very day. Like I said, it's a film that serves a lot of things that have made it stood the test of time. It's a film that's very much held up over 25 years later. It's a really damn good movie. It's a film that is definitely something that should be watched. It's going to be very uncomfortable to watch, but it's a film that must be seen. It's a film like Schindler's List. It's a film like 12 Years a Slave, where it's going to be uncomfortable to watch, but it's worth it when you get done with it, because you actually feel like you've learned something, and you need to want to do more research on this type of stuff. And it's a film that just shows the power of these two guys, Edward Norton and Eddie Furlong, and what they're able to do as actors. They're really good in the film, and it would show in what Edward Norton's career would go on to become shortly after this movie came out. But it's a damn good movie. It's a really, really great film. Definitely check it out. If you haven't seen it, you're doing yourself a major disservice. So with that said, on to the last film we have here, and that is Talk of Angels.
Miramax Films presents a triumphant new film inspired by the true story of Mary Lavelle. Polly Walker, Academy Award winner Frances McDormand, Vincent Perez. Talk of intrigue.
So full of secrets, my dear.
Talk of betrayal. Talk of angels.
How do you talk to an angel? I'm sorry, I just had to do that. That song came into my head as soon as I saw the title for this. But this is based off of a novel from 1936, and based on the life of this woman, Mary Lavelle. It tells the story of Lavelle, who travels to Spain in the mid-1930s to teach English to the young daughters of a prominent family. Over the course of the film, she becomes drawn to the family's married eldest son, and their affair unfolds with the increasing violence associated with the early days of the Spanish Civil War as the backdrop. And does that sound familiar? I mean, it sounds very much like a mix between The King and I, and this film has received a lot of comparisons, unfavorable ones, to stuff like Casablanca, Dr. Zhivago, Jane Eyre, Gone with the Wind. I've never seen the film, and quite frankly, I really have no real interest in seeing it. Even if it is a decent-looking film, it just looks like an Oscar bait film. It looks like a film they try to push out there around this time of the year, and hopefully we get some Oscar buzz on it. And needless to say, I don't think this movie did anything like that. So, yeah, I have no real interest in checking this movie out. So, yeah, not much more to say about that one. That's Talk of Angels. Alright, so now we're going to get into the good stuff next time we meet. We're getting into the crux of the 1998 holiday movie season. Next time we'll have 9 movies, including Adam Sandler's The Waterboy. We also have The Siege with Denzel Washington, Meg Ryan, and Bruce Willis. The re-release of The Wizard of Oz, Belly, Velvet Goldmine, Cate Blanchett and Elizabeth, Gods and Monsters, the re-release of The Big Chill, and The Red Violin. So, a lot of notable movies, and this is just the first of several movies from this time period. So, a lot of movies to get into in the next couple of days. So, we'll definitely get into those as we move forward and we get closer to the end of 1998. But until then, Thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys next time for another video. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. I always got to remember to remind you about that. But with that said, I am off, and I will see you guys next time for the next video. So until then, as always, take care.